Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
We are live. I was telling Wes before we did this, I moved so to mitigate the sounds of the tumbling water in my basement, but the peaceful stream goes on.
It's meditative, man.
It is pretty nice. I woke up at 5:30. I went to wake up at 6, but I was woken by my baby. And so I, rather than getting that extra sleep, I'm like, I'm just going downstairs early. And so that way I took up, from you yesterday talking about getting more into those like 20-minute meditation blocks. I was like, dude, I have to stop the 5-minuters. 20 minutes it does change your day, or I should say it can change your day up in terms of like, the thing to answer your question from last week, because I thought about this too while I was meditating, was the when you were saying like what's the point, like why should people do it, or like what are the benefits? Because in my head I was like, all right, I can do it for 5 minutes and jump right into my work, or I can spend the, say 20 minutes up front of adjusting my mentality so that when I'll lose 15 minutes of productivity in a sense, but I'm also shedding a lot of the stuff, at least, or getting in touch with the stuff that could kind of drag me down. The kind of analogy was like meditation for me is like taking the time to like unlace and untie like a weighted vest. That way, when you're working, you can like do all the work, but if you're weighed down by all of your stuff, that work's going to seem super hard, super strenuous. If you take time to kind of like undo a lot of that stuff and kind of like take that stuff off and then approach your day with like a more clear idea of what you're doing and kind of like a softer personal focus on all the stuff you're doing rather than being like, razzled by everything or frazzled by everything. So that was my answer. It's kind of like, I think it helps pull off like a lot of that weight that might sit on you otherwise.
No, absolutely. I mean, another way to think about it is just that cliche saying, like you're just taking time to sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a while I was just hitting the 5-minuters every day, and now I'm back to being committed to doing the 2 times a day, 20 minutes per session, once in the morning, once either in the afternoon or at the end of the workday. So I started that on Saturday, and got up early today to do it as well. So this is now day 3, and I love it, man. Like, I think it's a lot like muscle memory too, that I used to do it a couple of years ago, like that exact pattern, 2 minutes, 20 times a day. And then I guess what they call is like thought replacement meditation. So you pick one thing to focus on, and whenever something comes up, you remind yourself to just think of the original thing. So whether it be a single thought or a sound, etc. And I did that years ago, and it was phenomenal. Like after a couple weeks of doing it, I was like, whoa, this is actually really profound. I felt there's definitely a space between stimulus and response, and it allowed me to respond to something rather than to react, as they say. And now, just from getting back up into it the first day after the first session, I felt glimpses of that same superpower.
Yeah, that was something too. And again, talking to you yesterday, that was something I added of like tossing in the basically like a mantra or something, just like some quick phrase you do. And it's 2 things too, because it also, you can take a thing you kind of want floating around in your head and start through meditation, kind of drill in like a concept, like just the simple idea of had a book, like the idea of like letting stuff go, which I think is harder than people realize, or maybe they know it's hard but don't really think about doing it. I got a book last night, I'm trying to find it right now, that I started. It's called Letting Go. That's the title. But apparently it's really good. I heard good things about it, but when you're doing that kind of meditation where you like throw in like a little mantra, like you were saying, like talking about like a thought replacement, you're almost programming your brain on like two levels. You're like putting a thing you kind of want floating around your thoughts a lot, just searing it into your brain by repeating it over and over. And it also specifically draws your attention to how much your mind wanders away from your task. Like, dude, I was just sitting there and like, I had to repeat it like every like 15 seconds. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And then you start going like, the fuck, I got to repeat this thing so much. I suck. And you're like, oh, there's another one. And it's like, it's pretty crazy, man. I think it was fun. I was doing it today. And then like you start doing well where you get in a flow state. And then my thoughts are just like, oh man, I'm in a flow state. I'm like, God damn it. You're out of it. You son of a bitch. But it's like, you know, but the whole idea is letting go of all that stuff. But dude, the thing that I did today, because I try to give people like specifics, because I always like would hear people talk about meditating and might be like, yeah, great. Like you meditate. Cool. But like a specific exercise I was doing while I was doing it this morning was like, as I would have a thought, say, especially like, you know, if it was like, I start to characterize them. So like, say like I'm meditating and I start saying like, oh, today I'm going to do this and this will be a cool thing. I characterize that thought as kind of like a busybody person who's like kind of on the move and, you know, being too busy. And you imagine just like taking that thought, imagining it as like that envisioned person, and then like having them fly off of you. And then like another person like, this sucks. This, you know, and then you envision is kind of a guy who might be a kind of like a dickhead or an asshole. And you're like, all right, dude, enough of that. And you keep stripping those little characters away till you get kind of just your awareness. You know, and again, it's not perfect, but it was kind of a fun exercise I did today.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of those mental models are different tricks you can use to get yourself in the zone of meditating, or keep yourself meditating are perfect. But yeah, it's like you and I were talking about yesterday, Matt. I think sleep is the number one thing. Like that's the number one overlooked thing for performance. And then it's your mentality. And I think that your mentality, the number one thing is meditation. Like, can you build up the part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex? Can you build up that part of your brain so it's in control as often as you need it to be? Yeah, it's I'm so pumped to be back, and I want to throw this out there to the guys as well. So starting next week, so Monday, I'm going to be doing a live scorecard practice every day, Monday through Friday, for anybody who hops on our high level of our Patreon, if they want to do it. So think of it just like a workout. And again, if you can't afford that Patreon, just let Matt or I know, and we're happy to, you know, again, if you truly can't afford it, like hop onto the team. We don't want money to be the issue that you don't join. But we're going to be hosting our own Rhomas practice sessions every single day. So you can do it live with me, but I will also be recording it and posting it every day to that Patreon account. So what that will look like is literally we get on the team just like we would practice for any sport, and then we go through the scorecard. So, and by the way, this weekend I just made a Google Sheets version of the scorecard. So Google Sheets is more mobile friendly. Yeah. So much more mobile friendly, and starting to check them off now. I'll send out the link to you guys. That way you can have it printed out, you can have it on a computer, and then you can also easily fill it out from a mobile perspective as well. And I somewhat optimize, not really a tech guy, but I somewhat optimize it so it's a bit smaller. You can easily do it. So I'll send that out to you guys as well. However, the practice sessions will be done Monday through Friday. I'm going to pick a time, probably, and I'm damning Matt's name right now, probably 6 a.m., maybe 7 a.m.
Pacific time, right?
Yes, Pacific time. Each morning, Monday through Friday, and it will be the Rhomas men's team practice session. What that means is we're going to wake up, hop on, immediately do our meditations. It will start at 6 or 7 a.m. on the dot. I'll give you guys more details on that. So start on meditation, and then we go through, and the goal being to get through the majority of our scorecard. So, you know, wake up, we'll drink 16 ounces of water, we'll meditate for 20 minutes, everybody together, drink another 16 ounces of water, do 10 minutes of exercise, do an act of love, do blah, 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 right? So like try to get 8 or 9 of those scorecard things. We can't get 10 because of the craft, right? So focus at least 1 hour on your craft. So we can't do that, but maybe the guys and myself, after you get done that practice session, that could be that very next thing that you do. The whole idea being, let's get our fucking scorecard done every day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you want to do it as a team, like, we'll be there. Yeah.
Damn, I think that's awesome, man. I think it's a great. Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Like, what is that exactly going to look like? And dude, that's awesome. That's an awesome way to start your day.
Yeah, it just gets it out. I mean, it just gets it done. And here's the thing, like, whenever you start something new, you kind of go, what I've noticed, you go through these phases. Like, it's new, it sounds cool. And then once you do it for a week, it's like, it gets kind of, it's like, I don't know if I want to do it. And then you fight through it. It kind of goes to the boring stage. Mm-hmm. But then once you get through that boring stage, if you fight that like inertia, getting through that boring stage, then it's like, if you don't do it, you miss it. It's like, oh, I need that as a cornerstone. And that's where I am now. And Matt, I think that's where you are too. And I want the guys to be there as well. Like, to have this just be like brushing your teeth to the point where you don't notice it, but you notice if you don't do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dude. It's funny too, because I couldn't build habits like I couldn't build habits for the longest time. And I think for me, the thing that lacked is the social component. Like, I couldn't run until I did like the group app. And then it was like, oh, this is easy and fun. And, it was like, before it was like unimaginable, just willing up, mustering the guster to like push myself to do a thing like that. But yeah, you add a little social component for me, and that I've learned that's like a super strong driver.
Oh, dude. Well,
it's pretty weird. It's pretty crazy.
No, I mean, that's the thing. If you think about, oftentimes what we think about of motivation, we often try to think about how to synthetically manufacture an environment or a situation where we get motivated. Like, we write down the goals, like Matt, like we're going to talk about today. And absolutely, that works. However, the nucleus of motivation, so much of it is social. That is just, we are social beings. There's a reason we don't have, weapons on us. We don't have razor sharp teeth. We do not have razor sharp claws. So through evolution, we depended on each other for survival. That is the nucleus of our motivation, hands down. That's why I tell the guys all the time. It's like, if you really want to accomplish a goal, in my opinion, the absolute best way to do it, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, is to join a team that focuses on that goal for you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, it's not even close, because then you're not necessarily just motivated by the goal. You are now subconsciously motivated and like peer pressured in, and you feel that to go in. Like, for instance, you join a team, right? It's not that you're so motivated by the goal. Like, let's say the bodybuilding team that I joined, or the dance team that I joined. Every single second of the day, I'm not exactly like saying like, well, I need to become a great dancer. I need to become a great dancer. I need to become a great dancer. But as soon as that practice session comes up, if I'm late, I feel the pressure. Do you know what I mean? Because there's other humans waiting on me there. So that gets me to like act to the next step. And then when I'm there, I need to perform to a certain level, because there's other humans doing the same thing. If it was just me by myself doing it, like, that happens 40 times a practice session. Or the instructor saying, hey, like, you got to fix this. Like, that happens 100 times a practice session. There's so many of these invisible motivators and things putting pressure on you when you're doing things with a group that you can never calculate in your head, but it's just the reality. That's why, think about all of us on this call. All of us on this call have done something extreme, which is shown up every single day, Monday through Friday, for 13 years of our life, when we weren't particularly motivated. And that thing is called school. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us did it. No questions asked. Would you say that every single person that you went to school with was motivated? Absolutely not. But every single person that who went to school showed up for school every single day. Why? Because they had to show up to a hierarchy, a team, that team had a specific goal. So, dude, I'm convinced it's the number one way to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I thought about school today. It's funny you say that, because I thought about school when I woke up today, because I woke up like genuinely like it was early in the morning. It's like winter here now, so it's getting like dark. Like, it's super dark when you wake up at like 5:30 or so. And it was funny because it was early, and I was like actually excited to be up that early, which was weird, because I've never I thought back to school when I used to get woken up, and it was like I didn't think about it for a long time, but I would get like woken up in the middle of winter, and the light would come on, and I would just be like, I was pretty young too to be feeling this, and I'd be like, fuck, this sucks. And I would think about what I had in store for myself. And I remember like Sundays when I was younger, I'd get really bummed out and be like, fuck, I have school tomorrow. This sucks. And it's like, dude, you really are like just like crushed into participating in, stuff that's pretty unfulfilling and boring from a very young age. Hopefully it's not the same anymore. But when I was younger, I remember being like, dude, this sucks. I don't understand why I need to learn, all these certain rules of grammar. Like this is math stuff. I was like, calculators can do this. So it's like the standard of being just kind of bummed and going through the motions almost gets instilled. That's the whole point of it. It gets like almost instilled within, at least for me, it got like instilled in me at such a young age. It like becomes almost like weird and foreign to be genuinely excited for your day, which I think is you should be. And it's like, I thought about that today and I'm like, damn, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. 100%. But dude, I'm super, super pumped for today because you wanted to talk about how to set goals and so on. It's something we went like super in depth into.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I know, Matt, you're working on the book and the workbook for the Patreon stuff. And then we eventually should turn that into like a larger thing, which will be really cool. And I'm going to start creating videos that really go through the breakdown of like how to set goals inch by inch. And we'll go through some examples, et cetera. And we want to take some time today to go through that too. And I'm so fucking pumped to chat about. And also as a side note, I wanted to apologize. So Chalupa Cabra, I hope I'm getting that name right. I think I got it down. Chalupa Cabra.
Yeah, you got it. Chalupa
Cabra. Sent me a message on the Discord, and he said, he was kind of saying like, hey, I noticed you guys didn't post the YouTube video of the one that I was on. And I apologized to him, and I want to apologize to him again. Hey, guys, if any of you are on any of our sessions and you notice that it's not on YouTube, that is not like us deliberately saying, oh, we're not going to put that up there. That's just me being a monkey at this like tech stuff. And like a lot of stuff is slipping through the cracks. And it's also a good message to all of you. Like Matt and I did not wait for this thing to be perfect. We didn't wait for our skill sets to be perfect at all. Like we just wanted to get out there and produce value as much as we could. And we hope that's what we're doing. So please don't ever take offense to like anything like that. Like we love all of these sessions. And if there's ever anything that we miss, it is not a deliberate decision of saying like, no, we're not going to put like, Chalupa up there at all.
Well, it's funny because that's how my brain would have worked. If I'd been like, what the hell did I do? What happened?
Oh, me too. 100%, man. So like and that's the cool thing, man. Like to see everything that you guys are accomplishing, from ASB to Ray to Jordan to Troy to everybody, to Delco Jim, Joseph, all of you guys are just crushing it. We are trying our best, and Matt's doing a great job. I need to really step up and like really like fill in some knowledge gaps with this tech stuff. So anyway, just know that like we love you guys, and don't ever take offense to anything. Just ignorance before malevolence.
We did figure out whatchamacallit. If I didn't I would set the live stream to Crowdcast, but if I didn't simultaneously open YouTube as well, the link wasn't made somehow. I mean, this is like, you might as well be magic. I don't understand how this works, but like I need to have the YouTube win. So I think we missed a couple because specifically I was doing that. I was like, then it's like, oh, I have to have this thing open. I just thought it like went to YouTube headquarters. If I type that stuff in there, like, I don't know where this goes. So yeah, it's like,
Larry Page.
You also don't like there's also sometimes the what?
I thought Larry Page was personally one of the co-founders.
I thought LP had my back. Yeah, I thought. But yeah, it's funny too because like there's like problems you don't know even exist until you do things, which is funny. So it's like I'm like we were talking about doing Adobe, and it's like, dude, I'm like just trying to edit some stuff. I have another little side project going on right now, and I'm trying to get into some video editing, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like what do you? This is one of the crux of my problems right now. There's so much stuff I want to do, and there really is just limited time in the day. And it's like, having a lot of varied interests is kind of cool in a way, but you really do have to pick things and just burn other things off. And I'm in that process now of simplifying, and it's a painful one, dude. I'm like a Maria Kondoing my Condor, whatever her name is, like my life right now. And it's just like, I'm like, but I like all of my sweaters. I don't want to get rid of them. It's like I have to burn some stuff off, man. It's like killing me.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And then the other thing is like you then notice, just like you and I, Matt, talked about over the weekend, one of the most valuable things you can build is skill sets because you have bottlenecks, right? Like to production, and usually those bottlenecks to production are your skill sets. And both you and I, well, like especially me, right now, it's like, I want to do all this stuff. I want to teach and I want to make sure it's optimal. But there's this huge hurdle in the way called Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects. And it's like, dude, you step into that thing and it's not like using your iPhone. You know, at least for me, it's not like intuitive, and it's all of a sudden you're looking at this dashboard that looks like something out of fucking, you know, a spaceship, and you're like, well, where do you even start? So then you purchase a course and you go through these courses, but it's definitely a learning curve, man, for sure. But don't wait until it's perfect, I guess, is the moral of the story to everybody.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. In terms of, you know, I've been really trying to figure out, like, when I'm making decisions now like this, like, what am I going to keep? What am I going to do? Because it all feels pretty significant to me. So it's like the thing that I'm going to try to, the way I'm going to try to orient because, you know, it's so funny when you get into scheduling your time, that it's like you can get infinitely more complex and not even complex, but you can get like infinitely more kind of filtered. And like what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, I had the things I was doing and I was doing them well. I had my habits done. And then you start to kind of like, they start to intersect with your values, and you're like, well, I do want to do all these things, but I'm frankly not going to be able to, like, you know, write a novel while doing this workbook, while doing video editing, while doing this and that. And the filter I've been trying to kind of reduce my tasks is by service and like creating value for others. There's things I know that are directly creating value for other people, I bump them up. And I'm doing that right now, and I'm experimenting with that. But it's like, you know, rather than like, it's not selfish, but if I could just be like, yeah, screw this, I just want to write a novel and do that. But it's like, I like doing both equally, you know, and it's like, well, I might as well do the thing that creates value. And it's like, I've been reorganizing my day around which creates value and what doesn't specifically, and then kind of giving more time to the things that create value. Whereas before I was putting like the most time just in the things that I wanted to do. And I think it's been going pretty well. I've been pretty happy about it. So.
Oh, dude, you're crushing it. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, and you know, I say this respectfully, you're talking about splitting hairs because you're creating value in all of those projects. So at the end of the day, no matter which one you pick, right? Like, I think all the guys would agree, it's you're still committed to value and producing a shitload of stuff out there in the world. So it's like, yeah, man, you can't miss. You can't miss. You really can't.
I appreciate that, man. But it is fun too, though, because it's like, you know, you write a novel. To be honest, it's like, you know, you want everyone to read it. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is awesome. But then it's like writing that workbook, just to, like, you know, I would toss the files up or have like people like getting immediate feedback that people are like, oh, this is useful. My brain automatically is like, I'll just do this thing then. And it's not like a bad thing. It's like, to me, I think it's like kind of nice.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's cool. It's gonna be cool to watch you grow. But yeah, so I'm super pumped, man, for today to get into the goals discussion.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, you're going to do a more kind of like in-depth and you know, thing on the Patreon. But the thing I've been feeling this whole enterprise has been lacking is, like, you know, the scorecard's awesome, but then on top of the scorecard, like really getting people to try to figure out like why they're doing this stuff and give themselves like specific emotionally satisfying reasons for, you know, kind of operating at this level. Because for me, that helped. That's like, otherwise it's pointless. I can never, this stuff always kind of went over my head, because I'm like, why would it's weird. I'm not going to like robotize my day, but it's like, once you add in that emotional component, then it makes sense. And it's like, oh, okay, this is why I should be getting up at 5. Not even why I should be getting up at 5:30. This is why I am getting up at 5:30, you know, 6 o'clock, and not being like, exactly the why. This is the why behind the what. So thank you, AFB. So it's like, then you're the one who kind of opened my eyes to this. When we did this the first time, we sat and, like, you know, you just kind of project, you know, the year you want to have. And like, you just go through all those different domains that, like, you know, to me, they were important, but I didn't really think about them, if that made sense. And like, you know, so either way, I'm not going to like sit here and ramble on, but I do think just sitting down, taking stock, and actually creating a vision, and like, you know, putting some chips on the table, like, no, this is what I want. And then, like you were saying, breaking it down to the task. So I think if we could all get on that page together, even in a general sense, I think that would be pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
So
yeah. Can I take a stab at it?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. All right. So guys, if you're like, now's the time to pay attention for sure.
Pen, perhaps? Pen, paper, or no?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, I would say pen, paper.
Yep. 100%. And then this will give you kind of some insight. We have Matt and I and a handful of other men meet every year, and we do our goals. It's awesome. You know, the guys come over at my mom's house. Mom makes some food, like all that stuff. And then we go round robin, section by section. It's like, okay, what do we want? What are our goals in our relationships this year in life? And then we go through and let's say it goes to Matt. The first thing he says are his wins that he got for the year, like the major wins. And then if he wants to talk about any challenges that he's had, and the group can kind of chime in to see if we can help each other in that regard. And then also he goes through and says, okay, here are my goals for this year in that domain. And then we pick the other domains, right? Like all of those things. So a couple of like admin things right up front, or things to note right up front. Number one, respect your goals. Like if you're going to treat your goals with a level of seriousness, like make sure that even down to the level of how you record them and how you carry them. Like notice my goals, if you guys are watching the video, the video part of this podcast right now, my goals are in a binder, right? Like it keeps them with a level of respect that like a samurai would have of his, what is it called? Katana, like the sword, right? Mm-hmm. Keep them clean, keep them organized, and keep them protected. That's the first thing. So I have printed out version of my goals, and then I have my goals written digitally. So I check off my goals digitally, but like this I carry with me for not only symbolic reasons, but then also I put it out on my desk every single morning, and then I flip through it. Like and that's where you notice on our scorecard, it says review your goals for at least 10 seconds. So like I will usually do way more than 10 seconds, but I flip through these. Now, okay, so page number 1 is the goals and the year. Right now, I don't have anything written on the front page of my goals, only because like I don't really want people just like coming up randomly looking at my stuff. I just don't want to have to mentally deal with the questions or the pressure or the judgment that could come from somebody saying like, oh, like you want to be really good at dancing, it says here on your goal list. I don't like having that discussion. Sure. So because I mean, as you guys probably have known or felt, like not everybody is on the same page with you when you're trying to set goals. Like more often than not, it originally will be met with like, oh, that's like weird. But funny enough, if you follow through in that discussion, like you'll find that there's a deep yearning on that person who was making fun of you to actually do the same. Like eventually, if you hang in there in that discussion, they're like, oh, well, I guess like I have some goals, or I'd like to write some goals down, or like, hey, that's pretty cool. Anyway, my goals are just not out there for the world to see. They're protected in a binder. Okay. Okay. So, and Troy saying he's taking notes. Awesome, dude. Okay. Now, the next thing I have are my vision boards. Now I'm letting you guys in like real deep here. So nobody, this vision board is specifically for a wife, like, and the picture here is kind of symbolic. It's a princess, like queen type of person. But then I go around and I have all of the things that I have to do or execute or make myself to be, right, to earn that wife, if that makes sense. And this is almost checkbox style. Like, so when I'm having a down day and saying like, oh, like I'm not earning the woman that I'm supposed to, it's like, well, okay, am I doing the things that help me embody the person that I need to be to earn that spouse? Because for me, the number one decision I will make in my life by far is going to be the person that I choose to marry and who is foolish enough to marry me. Like that's the number one thing. So that's why that is my first vision board. I've never shown you guys that, but I look at this every day. Then the second one that I have is then my larger vision board. So this is like all of my goals and so on. Now, funny enough, these vision boards that I'm showing you, they are the final step. So you don't necessarily put this together first. You can collect the pictures first and so on. But first, the very first step is to go through what Matt is saying. In the book, The Laws of Success, it defines it as your definite aim, like your chief aim, your definite purpose, and so on. That is where you go through and you have a written statement. Now let's talk about that written statement. The first thing you want to do for your written statement, right? You can call it your definite purpose. You can call it your mission statement, etc. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on the terminology. The very first step there is to dedicate time towards imagination. And Matt, let me know, like throw anything in here, that works for you too. The first step is imagination. Like imagine there are no boundaries, and imagine that you've already reached the goals. Now, this is where it's weird, and it took me a while to get sold on this concept. So the way that you write your statement out is something like the common way is, I am so thankful that, like that I already have this, right? So for me, one of my major goals that I'm going to talk about is like my next goal for sure is a Tesla. Like, I'm going to be buying a Tesla. So in my, I will be updating my statement saying, I am so thankful that I drive the Tesla of my dreams, etc. And you make it as textured as possible. Now, I know it sounds corny and I know it sounds like woo woo, like, yeah, I don't have it yet, all of those things. But I can tell you from doing this and from talking a bunch of dudes that I really respect, who like are so much more successful than I am. Delco Jim, welcome to the group, buddy. So, and Matt, I cannot hear you. I don't know if the audio is on. Can you guys hear me?
You can't hear? Yeah, I can hear you. Good.
Okay, you can hear me. Matt, I cannot hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
Okay, so you write out your statement. You use your imagination first as like a brain dump. Like, oh, I want a Tesla. I want to be a phenomenal father. I want to be an excellent dancer. I want to be like all of those things, right? Okay, perfect. So then once you have that, you put that in your statement and you write it down as if you already have it. They call it like forward gratitude. You write it down that you're so thankful. Let's see. Sorry, Troy's saying my headphones might be dead. But Matt, you hear me, right?
I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
Sorry, guys. I cannot hear you guys. Hear you.
Well, let me hear. When you get that, I just want to say a couple things. So a couple things on the stuff you've touched on so far is, I mean, I've said this before, but it's like
technical difficulties. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Just having that piece of paper and all that stuff. For me, it helps me again root my day and not wake up and enter into that current of just kind of like what's on Twitter, what's on YouTube. I'm hungry. I'm taking a dump. Oh, it's 3 o'clock. I haven't done anything with my stuff. I'm such a piece of shit. Oh my God. And then, and it's like, that's the alternative to doing some of this more structured stuff that sure, at first I viewed it the same way as like, oh my God, that's so corny, or, oh my God, vision board, what are you, a girl, blah, 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 blah. It's like, sure, you can do that. But again, I feel like for me personally, the more I'm more in my kind of like judgy and like, oh, I'm not doing that kind of stuff, the more I'm in tune to that way of being that I described, where you just kind of wake up and go along with the current of like popular entertainment, the news, shitty food, the new Baconator, and lead a ultimately unfulfilling life. Whereas if you just kind of, and I always call these things little fear gates. It's like, that sounds kind of weird. It's not, that doesn't jive with my, self-conceptualization. I'm just not going to, if you just pass through that and you're like, oh, I did it. And I came out on the other end of it. And, oh, look at all these cool things that I've reaped from it.
Baconator. That's so awesome.
So that's something I really like. Again, it's like, I think this stuff combats existential drift in a way like that no one really tells you about. And like a lot of people don't really talk about the fact that they're kind of slowly spinning, not knowing why they're doing what they're doing every day, knowing that it kind of doesn't make them feel very good, knowing that it's very unfulfilling. And it's like, well, here's something you can do. And they go like, that's weird. And it's like, hey, it's pretty fucking weird to be living a life that you don't really like too. But It's like, so it's like, I wish there was like we could all just roll a pack of cigarettes in our sleeves and be like, let's go and all become rich, but it just doesn't work that way. So,
Nope.
Not even just rich, but have like a rich, meaningful life. So, so it's like, sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone if your comfort zone's producing very poor and unfulfilling results. So that was something that was just something to tack on to what the things you're describing.
Yeah. So Troy, thanks for the heads up, because yes, it was my headphones. That's the downside of using Apple headphones with a Microsoft computer.
Troy, I would say too, Troy asked how far do the vision board and purpose statements go? I mean, I would keep them a year at a time just to get really specific. You can draw up, you can do, there's like the old like obituary kind of exercise where you imagine like after you're dead, what people are saying about you. I think that's fun to do to like conjure up these values, but ideally I would keep it to 1 year's time just so like, it's more doable and you don't get kind of lost in the weeds of like a super long timeline.
Yeah, 100%. So to get back to everything, one thing that really helps me for the mission statement is first thinking about, again, going through the imagination phase. Don't worry about organization yet. Like, it's going to come out as like, I want a Tesla and I want to make, $500,000 and I want to be a great husband, blah, blah, all those things, write all of them down. Now, from there, what I'd recommend is organizing them per identity that you want to embody. And if you have trouble thinking about that, like, then just pick a person. Like, think about the people. So let's just say you've got a bunch of financial goals, right? I want to make 500K. I want to blah, 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 whatever. Well, think about the person that embodies that, right? Because oftentimes what can happen is we get a little self-conscious. It's like, well, I'm not the person who can make 500 grand, but it's like, okay, well, think about Warren Buffett, or think about whoever you admire in that domain and pick that person. This is no different. I think they call it like character embodiment, something like that. So it is no different than when you and I used to step on the basketball court when we were kids. We probably were not playing as ourselves. We're probably playing as Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or whoever, right? Like you're envisioning, it's like that's the person shooting the shot, not you. And this sounds so simple. It sounds so silly as well, but it fucking works. Right? Like when you take the shot as Michael Jordan in your head, I swear you shoot differently. It's just the way it is. Why? Because you're shedding all of those preconceived notions, usually negative preconceived notions you have about your own skill set, and you embody and you borrow, right, the skill set of that, whoever that is. So for me, right, like then I put pictures there. So there's Warren Buffett, right? So I've got financial goals and I've got dancing goals. This is kind of like this professional dancer guy. Right. I organize the goals by character. Right. And then it's like, okay, so for finance, it's this. I'm going to act as Warren Buffett. Right. Or for the CEO stuff, I'm going to act as Steve Jobs or whoever I admire. Right. Then from there, I write that in my mission statement, and I write like, I am this character of this, and I'm so thankful for this. So I'm so thankful I'm the CEO of the company, and that I'm making $600,000, $500,000 this year. I'm so thankful that I drive a Tesla. All of those things. You write them declarative as if they've already happened. Now, from there, you're gonna want to filter. So meaning, one of the secrets that I have, and Matt kind of like hit this earlier. One of the secrets is I only choose goals that I've put through the time dimension filters, meaning have I wanted, like, yes, we've already determined I want this goal now, right? Okay, fine. But I want a lot of shit now, right? Like, and a lot of that stuff does not serve me in the future, and it hasn't served me or been a desire in the past. So usually that's more of like an envy thing, like every once in a while, like, I don't know, like literally, because I'm such a fucking like psychotic competitor. Like I'll see somebody like doing gym, like, I don't know, like tumbling gymnastics. And I'm like, oh, that guy looks really cool doing that. Like, I want to do that. And it's like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I just like, my brain is just like being envious right now of that guy, right? Like, and the way that I feel that out is I ask myself 3 easy questions. And the best question is, have I wanted this in the past? And if I have not wanted it in the past for like a long time, like when I was a kid, that's usually a good indicator of like, I'm just on a flash of the pan thing right now. Then I say, okay, how bad do I want it? On a scale of 0 to 10, how much did I want in the past? Right? And how long have I wanted in the past? I can tell you, dancing with me, I've wanted since I was a kid, 100%. 100%. I can tell you that I wanted to be CEO and grow companies since I was a kid, 100%. But I can tell you that I never wanted to be a gymnast, right? 0%. So that's off the list, right? Then I ask myself on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do I want it now, right? So that's the present time filter. Then, right, the next is the future. Will this serve me, and will I want this in the future? And that's when I bring in my spouse, my future spouse. Will it also serve my spouse and my children and my family? And if the answer is no to any one of those time dimensions, I'm a bastard about taking that son of a bitch goal off the list. I don't focus on it. And then I deal with the emotional repercussions that might come up a week from now, saying like, but I wanted to be a gymnast. And it's like, no, you didn't. Put it through the time filter again. Put it through the time filter again, and that helps me. So after going through that filtering process, then it lands on the mission statement. Right. Then from there, right, you've already filtered out what's not important. So now you're no longer majoring on minor things. You're majoring on the major things. Write it out as if it's already happened. Read it. And then I go and I collect pictures on it. right? Then I write it down in the actual action plan, right? So for instance, who's my character? I want to be one of the best West Coast swing dancers out there, right? And I put texture on it. I want to be the best guy in the room, except for the professionals. I don't want to be a professional, right? I want to be the best guy in the room when I walk into the amateurs dancing. That's my goal. That helps me. Mm-hmm. Then it's okay, what are the steps that I can do to accomplish that? And those steps do not make this more complicated than it needs to be, right? So I'll show you right here. Okay, so if you look right here, dancing, right, it says dance West Coast swing. Action number 1, buy 10 dance lessons, right? Action number 2 is create detailed list of moves. Habit number 3, or action number 3, which is a habit, is dance 3 times weekly socially, right? Do not make, this is where a lot of people get caught up. It's what's the actual things to move the needle? This is very simple. Just make it a checklist. Mm-hmm. You can make it a hierarchical checklist, or you can just make it a straight 1 through 10 checklist. That's it. And only think of the things that are actually going to move the needle. So if you want to get good at dance, go and buy 10 dance lessons. Check, right? Go and dance a few times a week. Check, put it in your calendar. Check, all of those things. Do not make this more complicated than it needs to be, because I think a lot of people get caught on the logistics. It's really simple. Picture, goal, checklist, right? That's it. Now, some checklists are going to be really large, right? If you're really trying to operate off of what can I do daily. Another thing for me is I don't have any goals that I cannot work on weekly. Some goals I can't work on daily, but I do not work on any goals that I can't accomplish weekly, if that makes sense. I can't do something towards the goal. Yeah. Because the time horizon for a weekly time horizon for me just works. I don't like goals where it's I'm only going to touch it once a month, because you know what's going to happen? I'm not going to fucking touch it, right? Mm-hmm. But when it's on a weekly cycle, especially now since we do our meetings every week, right? That reminds me, it's okay, am I touching, like you said, right, Matt, before, am I touching all of my goals? I prefer it on a daily basis. Sometimes I can't do it on a daily basis, but at the absolute minimum, a weekly basis. Okay.
Well, can I say something? So there was sure. a bit of a kind of, not a disagreement, but ASB was saying well, couldn't a Tesla potentially be more of a distraction than a goal? And I think there's kind of a distinction between goals and values that get confused. Values are more of your kind of North Star vision. I want to be this kind of person. I want to be that kind of person. Whereas a goal is something you would achieve and it's over. If once you bought the Tesla, that goal would be over. And it's you know, I think all of this stuff it's just highly dependent on the person. So if it resonates with the person, it's right. If it doesn't, it's not right for that person. So I think that's a real easy kind of distinction people can make for themselves. Because then you could have someone who's a super ecologist who is that's a huge goal of theirs to reduce their carbon emission and blah blah blah. So it's there was that when you go back to the toward and away move from the ACT thing of here's your goals and values is what you're doing moving you towards that or away. Eating 6 donuts for lunch could be an away move if you're losing weight, but if you're an actor gaining weight for a role, eating 6 donuts could be a toward move. So it's all highly personal, and it does change, honestly. Really, if you think about it day to day, minute by minute, but it's if you can, Wes is saying, lock your goals in things that have passed through the kind of time horizon of kind of I've always been interested in that. It's okay, cool. That's a big deal, because that long-term interest will sustain you as you check these little tasks off that might seem kind of, boring if you're doing something you weren't interested in. And also too, it's I don't go too crazy with I like you do the imagination stuff. You really write down, you create a vision. Yeah, that would be awesome. And you break that down into doable tasks. You don't got to go from start to finish with the task. Just do the first thing to get, like Wes was saying, do the first 3 things you could do within a week. You'll complete them, and then 3 more will just organically pop out of the thing you're doing, and then boom, you do that. And there's another one. Murphy was saying, can your goal be to not? Your goals can be whatever you want. Your goal be to not have goals? It's sure, you can totally, if that's what you're after. Not there's only you can say what works for you. It's just there's the idea of it you can have in your head, and then there's the experience of it. So this whole idea is like, you gain the idea of it, but then you put that idea into practice, and then you reflect on the reality of the situation you inhabited because you actually did the thing. And you'll know, like, either you'll be like, that sucked, or you'll be like, that was kind of difficult, but I want to try that again. Whatever. It's like, this is highly dependent. There's a framework for this, but it's like you as the individual have to be the one who fills this in with your own thing.
I think Murphy said, can your goal be to have goals, not to
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, Murphy. I completely read that wrong. Yes, dude, big time. And that's where I think a lot of people are at, to be honest. And it's like, if that's where you're at in terms of the goal to be to have goals, then it starts to get into like, that's where the meditation helps. And just really like the mindfulness bell, really checking in with yourself and figuring out like, what are the things you do that you enjoy, and then just adding those things into your life. And I think you can eventually start to have some sort of goals, if that makes sense, around that.
Yeah. And here's the thing. And to ASB's point, and kind of like to some of the other guys who are talking here, like, as a man, I always I'm committed to I love being a philosopher, but only after I've been a practitioner. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are philosophers that are not practitioners. So like talking about something and like reading about it and so on is one thing. And Matt and I could probably do a good job at that, right? Like anybody who can read can then like kind of relay information. But for me, going out and hunting and holding up the lion's head that I cut off, like as my trophy, and saying like, I know how to hunt because I got the fucking trophy, right? Like then I can speak to it. So like for me, the Tesla is that, right? Like the Tesla means that I was able to build myself into the type of person that can hold the Tesla trophy up. Like for me and I would suggest all men consider taking this. It is in our DNA to like set a singular thing and saying, I'm going to go out and I'm going to kill it, because it's not necessarily about the killing it. It's about who it makes of me to be able to go and kill the thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hilarious. Sorry, Ray was making me laugh. He said you're the only guy who can describe buying a car in terms of murdering wildlife. But dude, it's true. And it's like the biggest thing too. And this is something too, in terms of like, and I used to do this a lot too, where I would just kind of start like, again, get kind of, this guy hit me with, I remember I was buying a used car and he hit me with I was like deciding if I wanted it, and he hit me with this quote. It was like an old Indian dude, and he was like, paralysis by analysis. And it's like, you can analyze this stuff forever, or you just like, you listen to it. Maybe you don't get all, you're like, wait, what was that? Just take what you got and then just try it, and then go, okay, here's what happened. And then you can come back with actual questions and be like, oh, here's, this actually didn't work for me. And it's like, okay, yeah, perfect. And now you know that. And you might even craft your own version of this out of your own experience. So it's like, this is just this is the thing I think Wes kind of developed through his research and his practical application. And it's like, he told it to me, and I think it was like Butterly Rainey, a couple other people. And then like, so we might have like our own little touches on it. So it's like, yeah, this is just a template. So it's like, take it, apply it, think about what's going on, feel the stuff that's going on, see what's good, see what's bad, retool, reapply, you're just refining. And this can, like, Murphy was saying, it's like, if you're kind of, and maybe I'm, projecting from like my past state of self, of like at the part where or at the point where you're just kind of like, I don't have any goals at all. Typically that comes along with not a tremendously strong sense of self, which is understandable, but it's like, these are the things that make up a self. If you're kind of, lacking in the self department, which is, fucking a bad, it just is weird, man. I was talking about this on the Church of Dogology, which spread out into a, just like a whole other discussion on a bunch of other stuff. But it's like the idea of not having like a solid self and like, values and all this other stuff in terms of like, not even just values, but rank ordered values, because that's what gets people a lot of times when they have conflicting values. Like, well, I want to be someone who does stuff like a good family man, but I also like pride myself professionally and I don't know what to do. It's like, they don't really overlap. You have to make the distinction, like which one do you value? And then how are you going to reflect the, your rank ordered values in reality, rather than just keeping them in your head. So, this stuff is like, this takes a lot of time to apply, but it's like, if you just start this process, and again, it's the thing, I'll say it a million times. It's like just starting this process and then calling your shots, crafting your day, and trying to stick to that as close as you possibly can. it starts to really kind of put your feet firmer on the ground and take your head out of the clouds, you know, in a good way. And you still have your imagination doesn't like disappear. But it's like you start to be able to utilize it in ways that work with you other than kind of like working against you and like making your, you know, in reality just uninhabitable because your mind has no tasks. So it's just picking yourself apart constantly. So.
Yeah, and absolutely. And the thing because there's some of you are probably like battling in your head. It's like, you know, and that's why I appreciate ASB's question and comment. Like I can tell you guys, if you're thinking about your head right now, like of like, oh, well, you know, I'm not like, I don't want that thing. It's like, no, pick the trophy and first go and earn a trophy that you're interested in. And then you can philosophize about whether or not it was worth it. But I guarantee you that when you do that, and if you've selected a goal that's actually worthy of your energy, like you will look back and say like, damn right. Now, that does not mean that you're going to be satisfied forever just from accomplishing the win of one trophy. Yes, it then goes on to the next trophy. And that's the awesome part about life is that our DNA forces us to grow. And if you're not growing and making progress, then your DNA tells you like, get the fuck up and do something. So anyway, now let's just say, because some of the guys I can kind of see, it's like, well, I can see in the comments like, hey, well, can I make it a goal to have goals? Because this might be like the first time I've ever been doing this. Now, absolutely. And this process can seem overwhelming. Here's a very quick shortcut. If you're finding yourself like getting caught up on the logistics, I can tell you if you want a quick shortcut, very easy. Go to Google right now and just pick a few things that you want. Get some pictures, copy and paste those pictures, put them on a Word document or whatever your document is, like your Word document, Excel, whatever you want, and put those pictures on there and use that as your goals template. Print it out and look at it every day. And your brain, this is how good your brain is at achieving, right, and finding things for goals. You just need pictures. So you can do all of the things that Matt and I just said and do it to the level of detail that he and I do it. But if that's going to get in your way, if you're not used to it, like, and you just need a little bit of a tinier, scale project, then go out and create your vision board. And then over time, you can fill in the words of that vision board. But your brain already knows. Like, your brain knows what you want. And your brain also knows how to get it. As weird as that sounds, we just do. Our brains just know how to do it. So as soon as you put a picture up there of a Tesla or a picture of like a dude with a six-pack, whatever it is, your brain will automatically start seeking out ways and resources to accomplish it. I think they call it your reticular activating system in your brain. It is literally the mechanism in your brain that seeks out the resources that says, oh, I want a six-pack. Oh, there's a book on nutrition, right? Or like, oh, my friend has a six-pack. I'll ask him, right? Something like that. So if you're getting caught up on like, oh, I don't know how to write these out like word for word, then just do the thing of least resistance. Pick out some pictures on Pinterest or Google or whatever that you identify with as some of your goals and start there. If it's not overwhelming for you, then do the real stuff that we just said earlier, like the actual writing it out.
Yeah, and you can also, I mean, dude, all this stuff, some of this stuff gets kind of like, I think rubs up sometimes up against like things that can be perceived as like materialistic desires, but it's like you can approach if your goal, say you were just like, you know what, all I care about is I want to, end world hunger, or I want to become like enlighten people spiritually, you'd still have to do all these things. Otherwise, you'd still be a person who's just thinking about doing all those other things. If that makes sense.
Yep.
So it's like, it doesn't, you can, if you see like, Wes has certain apples hanging on his tree, that's just the fruit of all of these endeavors. Like yours could look totally different. So, I wouldn't worry about like, well, is this typically a good, it's like, just fill it with the stuff that makes you kind of feel alive and then just go after that rather than kind of like, the back and forth.
Yeah. And Troy is saying, well, number one, Harrison put a comment up on there saying he and his wife were literally talking about making a vision board. Dudes, I can say for sure, if you're in a marriage or in a relationship with whoever, making a joint vision board, dude, that's a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer. And the cool thing is, man, like when you do this, like we were saying, Matt and I were saying, when we do this at the end of the year together as a group and we go through each of the domains of life, you find out that like you can literally fill your entire day with activities where you're inching yourself towards reaching some sort of goal. Like there's no wasted time, even if it's just hanging out, right? Because when you have a goal of like, yeah, let's say I want to have a goal of like, really like doing a level 10 hangout stress relief session with my girlfriend. Let's just say that's the case. Well, then you have goals around. It's like, okay, well, what are the things that you could do to do that? It's probably not just watching TV every day. Like maybe that's a cool thing every once in a while, but maybe like we get a bath together. Maybe we give each other massages. Maybe we listen to like some real relaxing music. Maybe we walk out around the sunset out the beach in California here. Like it just gives you a level of intention and purpose-driven life so that every single minute of every single day, you're actually accomplishing it and you're checking off goals like crazy. Then to Troy's question, he says, Wes, I looked at your vision board and it seems like there's some things that are longer term there. Absolutely. 100%. There's some things that like longer term on my vision board for sure. So that's what I was saying. Don't get caught up too much on the logistics. Like some things are short term here, like for the year, but some things in terms of the vision are longer. But what to Matt's point of saying, like when you're writing down your goals, like try your best you can to have it for the year, because the logistics, like the actual actions of my goals are on a week by week, month by month, and only for the year basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you want like your goals are for the year, and so if you imagine it like things kind of orbiting stuff, it's like your goals are like orbiting your values. Your values are the center pin of this whole thing. It's like, how do you want to do these things? What are the kind of qualities you want to kind of invest or like enhance in yourself and manifest in the world? So meaning like, I want to alleviate suffering, unnecessary human suffering. That can be that's more of a value, because you're never going to get to I want to be a good father. You're never going to like be done doing that. So that's a value. That's something that's more of like a direction. Like you can head west forever. You're never going to get to west. You're just going to head west. You can head north forever. You're just going to keep going towards the kind of where you're heading. So that's more of like a value. And then from those values or where the tasks come about, because it's like, okay, that's a value. How could I specifically manifest that in the world? What would that be? What would the actions be that would make me not just, think I'm a nice person? Let's use a generic idea. What would somebody do to actually be a nice person? And that's when your goals that's like where your goals should be growing out from. So they're not just like these empty kind of boxes you're checking off of a list. So then again, like take for instance, like, a value is like alleviate unnecessary human suffering. Is like something that's more of a value. It's like, you're not going to finish alleviating all of the human suffering in the world, obviously, but a goal could be to start this like null website. And I'm giving you a process as to like, how I think and how I've been trying to kind of use this framework to, get to realize projects that would otherwise just sit in my head and kind of eventually just rot away to kind of like, I would forget them. So it's like, you can take this stuff as deep and as personal as you want. And it's also one of those things too, where like, we're different. So it's like, just, think about what resonates with you, what's actually important, and just try to do the simplest task of just like Wes was saying, there's an easy way of like, pick 2 things you want off of Google and just figure out how to get them. And it's like, think of 2 traits you want to embody. If someone's like, hey, did you ever meet that guy? Like, yeah, he's X, Y, and Z. Like what you would want somebody to say. Think about what you'd want somebody to say about you, and then be like, okay, how could I physically manifest that trait in a way that people would say, oh yeah, he did that thing, therefore this. And then, just start there. Again, this is like, start small, and just, this is something that for like, don't worry about. And I think a lot of that too, that there's some like kind of preparatory procrastination around this, because a part of us is like, this is kind of weird. I don't want to actually take the steps. It's like, don't even worry about getting this right or wrong. Just whatever this means to you, just try to go do that thing. And, the quicker you can get this into like a task to do, just go do those tasks, even if it's just one little thing a day. And it's like, dude, I'm telling you, the big shift is really consciously spending your time towards self-directed and self-chosen goals and values. That's it. So if you can practice doing that like 10% more, you'll start to kind of spin that into more and more, more and more stuff. So
yeah, 100%. And the cool thing is, man, if you're part of this team, like you already have the scorecard. Those are your goals, right there. You've already got 10 goals every single day to hit, and we're all working on it as a team. So like, don't think that you can't do this. And it's just like, just build on it from there. Like, but you've already got 10 goals, like in your pocket or on your desk, like in your computer right off the bat. And I'm telling you, man, it's addicting. It really is addicting. And then the cool thing is, like, you got to remember, we're not just doing this for ourselves, right? Like, you're doing it for those people who are important around you. So Matt is not doing this for himself. He's doing it so that Maya can go to college someday, right? Like, remember that shit. So, and it's like, if you find yourself arguing, it's like, well, I don't know if it's like, well, then it's just not fucking important enough to you. Like, pick the stuff that is important for you, right? Like ASB said earlier, like it's the why. So only commit your time and resources to stuff that actually moves the needle for you, not for me, not for Matt, not for anybody else, like, but moves it for you and your family.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, that's kind of one of the big shifts, is like pulling yourself out of the kind of personal vacuum of like, I'm a person whose actions and thoughts and things that I do have really no effect on myself or reality around me. Unless maybe I was like better than other people, I could start comparing being better than other people, then the things I would do would mean stuff. And it's like that whole filter you don't even need. It's, I mean, obviously people, we all evaluate and kind of rank order and all that stuff, but it's like something that helps is like thinking about, and I'm trying to make sure I explain this correctly, but like, so you can't just like come up with values out of the blue and be like, I want to do this and say them, because they also have to match whatever it is that's been going around or been going on around you, still goes on around you today. Like there's a reason like the values have to resonate. And I think the thing they resonate against is like your own personal life history, disposition, character traits, blah, 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 blah. So it's like whether you think it or not, you are part of a thing. You're part of humanity. You're part of a family. You're part of society, whatever, even if you feel kind of alienated from all those things, it's like, well, that's just how you feel. You're still connected and your actions still have sway over, the areas you're in to some degree. So it's like, if you think about it, if you're just out there doing shit, say like you're out there just doing bad shit all the time, you're driving like a dickhead, you're like, you curse at your neighbor, you're just a fucking jerk off. I think of it like there's like a karmic, almost like the weather, how like moisture kind of rises up off the ground all the time and it just kind of hangs in the sky and it always eventually falls back down. I think of that like you're part of like a karmic atmosphere, and it's like everything you do, kind of every little thing rises up and somebody's going to pay for it, typically, if not you. So it's like that alone is like when you realize you're more kind of connected in like a web of people, again, connected in consciousness with other people, that alone can be a bit kind of more motivating and pull people out of like, well, what I do doesn't matter, because when I watch TV, like I just think of people who are in Hollywood and they're the ones who are really living the life and I'm just living this shit sucker life. And it's like, well, you have no idea how they feel. They might feel pressured or whatever. So it's like, I do think when you can kind of reorient yourself and like really, and it asks a lot of you to be like, yeah, the things I do actually matter, because it's kind of terrifying to think of all the, the repercussions your actions have. So it's like, if you can plug yourself back into that and tell yourself that the things you're doing matter, not even like maybe even just for your fucking family. It's like, that alone should, can and will motivate people, but it's like just getting yourself out of that, like, oh, nothing I do matters. Nothing I do matters. It's like, no, it really does. Because if you say that all the time, and it's, again, maybe not if you're like single or you're younger, it feels like that. But as soon as you have a kid, it's like there's a pair of eyes on you who are going to take the things you do are going to affect that one person so much. And then the things you do to affect them will affect other people. And it's like, that's just one person. And like that does ripple out. So, again, I'm not going to ramble about that, but it really does matter what you do. And the more, if you like take responsibility for that, it can be the very thing that kind of enlivens your life towards like purpose. So.
Oh, dude, 100%. So I wonder, Matt, if you're cool with it, why don't we do a quick round of like, Matt, want to give the guys a quick goal or two of yours and like an example of.
Yeah.
Like,
let me get it real quick.
Yeah. So guys, start to think about.
I have it right here.
Right, like everybody go through.
God, mine, look, you were like, you got to keep them nice and in a binder. I'm like, mine are a fucking mess. But this dude, every day, Wes Watson, obviously, shout out. So nice. Right here, that's kind of like that orients my actions. I always try to filter them, like, if the thing I'm doing, will this help her, and will this help my family? So it's like, that's my vision board and all the stuff I want to do, and like again, like character traits you want to embody. So yeah, so we have that, but let me see. So yeah, we went through kind of health, wealth. What were some of the other domains? It went like super in depth, but I'll try to find. All right. So in relationships. So one of my main goals, and this is kind of overarching, but it was like to stabilize my relational world, which is the web of all my relationships, to the point where my daughter will grow up feeling safe, listened to, unthreatened, and secure. So it's like, that's kind of a general goal, but if you think about it, it's like, what are the action items of something like that? Have discussions with my wife about kind of like our communication patterns. And like, again, like Wes was saying, like a joint kind of future that we both can inhabit peacefully. And, you know, some of the other ones were kind of like handling certain family stuff and other things around it. That one's kind of vague. Let me, here was one too. This is one of the goals too, is in the domain of spirituality, kind of like uniting my household under some sort of, you know, spiritual banner of some sort, or making sure that if we're not all kind of conjoined, because my wife has like different religious views than I do. So she like wants to go to an actual church. So one of the things I could do would be like, all right, she's been talking about doing this, but for some reason she's not. I will research churches and I'll find one for her to go to, and I'll go with her like once a week. You know, it's not really my favorite thing to do, but it's like something that I can do that will kind of, you know, bring about more of a cohesive environment that I'm after. It doesn't mean like I'm like being converted or being blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is just something I'm doing for my family. So hopefully that's not too general, but there's like, you know, you can take really broad and kind of overarching goals and still kind of put them in a more granular terms, if that makes sense. And then 100%. You do that. And then it's like, oh, here's 10 more things I got to do now, because that just opened up a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Does that satisfy your question?
Absolutely. Sure. At the end of the day, what you're trying to accomplish is is a feeling, yes. Right? The feeling of progress towards like your ultimate North Star destiny. Like that's what you're trying to accomplish. So at the end of the day, it's like, do I feel I've been making sufficient progress? Now our brains can kind of call bullshit on ourselves if we have not, because some people are like, oh yeah, I have. It's like, well, okay, but what? So if you had stakeholders, if you had investors in that particular goal, like let's say that goal was a company for you, and it was, you know, making sure your family is successful, safe, etc. If I ask you, hey Matt, like on a scale of 0 to 10, how are you performing? Like how's the progress there? Like you might say like, oh, it's a 10. But would I, as an investor, agree with that? Mm-hmm. It just helps for a sanity check. It's like, well, it doesn't seem like that because you went out and, you know, you cheated on your wife. Obviously you didn't do that, but I'm saying like that's an incongruent thing. So having that sanity check is really important. So that's all we're trying to do. Like goal setting and doing the things is just your best guess of how to fulfill your North Star vision of what you as a human are trying to embody and accomplish on this little blue dot, you know, we call Earth. So that's it. So Matt, what is an example? Like what's one goal for 2021 for you? So
one of them was to have a, let me see, I have it right here. One of them was to have this book done that I was working on, the novel I was doing, but now I'm starting to rethink. And this is the other thing too. This is pretty flexible. So like, I really wanted to have this novel done. I wanted to have all the money I needed saved up for the wedding we have in April. So I wanted to have, I'll just stick to one, to have the money saved up for the wedding and make sure like we weren't going to be like, have no money after we paid all the vendors and stuff. So that was one of the goals. You know, financially, that was like what I was doing. And again, to have the writing project done, that was my novel that I'm now going to, I think, switch with another writing project, which again, to me is totally fine. You know, I don't think you have to like really crucify yourself upon these things, but these are just things that are keeping you kind of, you know, operating at your highest level.
Perfect. Yeah. But if we can go into picking that financial, I love financial goals because financial goals are so like, they're so easy. They're so like precise. Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about that? Sure. And by the way, guys listening, this is what we do in our goal session. Like at the end of the year, it's like, if somebody says, okay, hey, I want to do this. And then other guys say, well, okay, how are you going to accomplish that? Like, what can we make that more specific and so on? So I want to give you guys some insight on how we go into this. So Matt, you have a goal, then the goal is to have this wedding and pay for it. The cool thing about finance goals is you can apply a number to it. So Matt, if you had to guess, if you don't mind me asking in front of everybody,
sure,
what's that number?
It's like $20,000, like 23, I think, depending on a couple of the vendors. The place alone was like $7,000 to rent. And then because I have a 300 person wedding, so we have like a humongous family. So it was about like 20. Honestly, we're right on target. So we're like, because I had some savings before, so like, you know, it's one of those things where you like put your savings down and like, you motherfuckers better give me some money in the card, so I'm not broke after this. But it's like, you know, so it's like, you know, we have the we're on target, but yeah, so it was about like 23 total.
Yep. So then as a team, maybe say, okay, let's pick the higher number because for obvious reasons, better to overshoot than undershoot. Okay, so you got $23,000 by when? Ray says self.
I know, self-tickets. I was just reading that, dude. I know.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, that would be pretty funny. But yeah, so that was kind of the number, and some of the action items we had to do were, again, this helped tremendously. You're kind of telling us about this, is setting up those bucket accounts with Capital One. So there's an action item. Log into Capital One. Like, you'd be surprised how easy that sounds. It's like, oh, I got to log in and start an account. I'm like, ugh. So it's like, there's one action item, log in. And then it's like, okay, cool. Set the account. And then, we would say, we need to put in, like, I forget what it was, what we started doing. It was like 200 when we started saving. It was like, I think we're trying to do like 250 a month into the wedding fund. And, then like taking, like I had other savings, and then we're like, take out of that and put stuff in there. So really it was kind of like just setting up the different kind of bucket system, budgeting money in certain areas. So that was like, we were cutting certain things out, and, so we're on target right now. And we've also been like chunking off deposits as we can, so we don't have to get like hit with all of it at once.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so so guys, if you're following along, it's like set the goal. And Matt, do you have a picture? You do have a picture for the wedding, right?
Yeah, this is this is the space it's going to be in.
Perfect. So. Right. So he already has his vision board. He's got his picture for it. You picked the number 23,000. Matt, if you don't mind me asking, where are you? So when do you need the money by? You said April, right?
Pretty much like 3 days before. Yeah. So you got like all the final payments come down 3 days before.
Yeah. Cool. So we've got the date, right? You need a handful of days before the wedding in April. If you don't mind me asking, how much money do you currently, what's the amount of money you have left to save?
Actually, I think we're pretty close. I think there's like a couple $1,000. So once we have the rest, we're right at the finish line. Again, having had a little bit of savings helped tremendously, because we were able to like chunk off some of the bigger deposits. So we're like right towards the finish line of that, just by like a couple $1,000.
Fucking right, man. It's going to be a huge trophy for you.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you probably have to save a couple $100 a week, right? It seems like, to get to your goal. So like that right there, boom, check it off. Like, and Matt already knows this. I'm not teaching Matt anything, but it's so that you guys can hear like the articulation around how this actually goes. And he told you, right? Like some of those action items are like log into, for first is like create a Capital One 360 account. The second is like log into it. The third is start saving actual money, like put towards it. Awesome,
or just budgeting, having to budget, going through and being like, all right, what are we cutting out? Because something has to go. This is the first year I ever had a budget, which was like, again, I thought it was so much easier to kind of freewheel about. Dude, the biggest thing I could say is I used to always be like, yeah, don't pay taxes. Oh my God, don't ever pay taxes. And it's like, as soon as I started like writing stuff, it's like you just start investing more in yourself. Like, well, I don't want to give this money away, so I'll just invest money in myself. And it's like, it's just so funny how you can get these weird little mental models on things and how, unhelpful they are. So, just like take stock of your financial reality, see if you can increase it. If not for now, like there's always, I swear to God, there's always things you can do to save more money. Cause it's like, you sit with the average person. It's like the monsters are on deck. The SIGs are on deck. It's like, I know you want them and I know you like them, and that's fine. If you rank that over, the other things you're trying to do, it's no shame in the game. I swear to God. But it's like, but don't complain again. If it's like, well, I don't have, it's like, you can cut those things out, man. And like, you just have to want to enough. And it's, and again, it's hard to cut them out, cut that kind of stuff out. I mean, I'm not trying to like shame people for monsters and cigarettes, but it's like, it's hard to quit those kind of things if you don't have a vision of something else to move towards. Otherwise it seems like, it seems like, why would I not? It's like, well, This is the thing you're going for. And it has to resonate with you. The point where like, yeah, that's something I want to go for,
Yep. 100%. So cool, man. So the guys, there you have like a quick little round. And then for me, just to put that out in the universe, like my 2021, get a Tesla. So just as a quick little finance chat, I refuse to buy anything, especially like a large purchase that doesn't already have the funding behind it. So like just my personal financial beliefs, I don't like debt. Like I'm happy to take on, like, let's say debt for a car if I already have the money to do it. If I'm trying to play the arbitrage of like growing my investments simultaneously while paying off a debt service, but under no circumstances do I want to like go out and take a loan out on something. Like I want for the Tesla, for example, the Tesla that I want is $70,000. $70,000 will be in an account dedicated solely for that. Nothing to do with other finances, like solely for that 70 grand in an investment account or in a bank account, whatever one that I choose, and building up, and then and only then will a Tesla be purchased. So I wanted to put that out there to you guys. Number one, because it keeps me accountable. It's like, so every week I'm going to be saving towards that. My goal is $1,000 minimum a week towards saving to that. So you guys can kind of keep Matt's progress and keep my progress. Like we'll fill you in along the way. And then the second big goal of 2021 is to make $500,000 for 2021. That's the goal. So like, and then I'll keep you guys apprised with, what's going on there. But like setting out those trophies of like getting that, then it's like I'm forcing my brain to figure out like the logistics about how to actually make that happen. So you don't have to adopt those goals at all. You might say, oh, well, Tesla's a waste of money, or like 500K, like you don't need that much, whatever. That's not for you to decide. That's up to you to decide, and so on. So, but yeah, so guys, pick your trophies and then just go out and fucking hunt for them. That's it.
And it's also too, I appreciate you putting, a lot of people are very, and I think I suffer from a bad case of weed dealer brain. So like, I never want anyone to know how much money I have ever. So I'm always like, but it's like, I think there's something about just like, here's what I'm doing. Here's how much money I'm just putting it out there and just being, in reality. And I know this sounds like, I mean, they're not just numbers, because money is, is a very important thing to have, but it's nice to just be like, yeah, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm working with. Here's what I'm going for. And there's really no shame in it. Because again, we've both inhabited the doing it where you have money to spend, and both inhabit the realm of not having the money to spend. So there's no like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, if you hear that and you're like, oh, that's so much, I'll never have that. It's like, just worry about the little thing that you want to have and, try to like get there. If that makes sense.
Oh, dude, 100%. And the reason that I say those is because I wish that somebody would have said numbers when I was young, like when I was like searching. I still, like some of my mentors, I'm so thankful that they tell me their numbers, because then it orients me. It's like, oh, well, I want that. So yeah. I'm not saying it to brag. That is not the case at all.
Sure.
It is to say like, hey, if you're on a similar goal, like we can chat, right? Like where it's like, here's what I'm after. So if there's similarities, and like I'll tell you like if I hit it or if I don't hit it, and so on. And I see Ray typing. He said that his goal is 150 Canadian. And it said he was scared to type that. That's the cool thing, man. It's like, have the guts to say it out loud or to put it out there in the world. And if nothing else, you've got the balls to actually say it. So it's like, it's going to take some balls to actually achieve some goals. So get out there in the world and say it first. And then you throw your hat over the fence and you figure out how to go get it. So hell yeah, Ray, great job on sharing your stuff. And guys, please share your goals. The very first step is being able to articulate it out loud.
For sure. And I think it also helps too, having that kind of thing where it's like, that could be the difference between like, am I going to sit at home all day Saturday and get drunk, or am I going to go out and like drive for Uber? Because it's like, otherwise it'd be like, getting drunk sounds awesome, but it's like, oh yeah, I forgot I told everybody I have this goal where I want to have, X amount of this or that. And if I want to do that, and, I have to go do this other thing, so I can, I'm now oriented towards this other thing rather than just kind of idling and spending my time pleasuring myself on some level.
Yep. Yeah. See, ASB's 2021 goal is become best dancer in every class. Hell yeah, man.
Nice.
I love the best word. That's like, it starts to pluck my own heartstrings when somebody says, Steve, my goal is to make 60K in 2021. Hell yeah, buddy. Troy, I need to calculate how much a year in savings I want to get by the end of 2021. Absolutely. Yeah. Like the cool thing about finance goals is just very rational, and then for guys listening, it's like, well, how do I make, I've never thought about making 50K or 100K or 200K, whatever it is. Trust me, it is a function of the value you deliver to others. Like that's it. Like just, and it might take you more time, right? Like, because it's that whole quote, like most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in a decade. So the time component's one thing. Like I do think you should still put like a timestamp on stuff, but if you don't hit it by that time, that's okay. Right? Like, I guarantee you're on a path of progress that you would have never been on had you not set the goal. But in terms of earning more money, just always remember it's a function of the value you deliver to other people. So whatever your best guess is, like Ray sells art. That's like, like he's providing value in that space, like whatever it is. And if you in side jobs now, man, holy shit, there's such an opportunity for side jobs. So if you have a skill, even if that skill is driving a damn car and doing Uber on the side, right? There's ways of producing value in society now that have never been an option before. So take advantage of them.
Yep. Yeah, man. That's again, it's also nice too when you're doing this. I'm writing out some of the like the overarching goals I have for this year, and it's like, oh, one of them's done already. It's like sweet, So
yeah, hell yeah.
I'll be retooling this come like New Year. I think New Year's is a good time to like retool these, and refocus for coming up to 2022, because that'll be a little bit different.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Harrison's throwing out his goals. I think my goal is to be the funniest. What is that?
Open micer. Is it?
Awesome.
It was.
Hell
Yeah.
Well, you're talking to the king of it here, man. Philly's Philly's
Yeah. 2014. That was back when I had chops, man. No, it's one of those things. You just got to keep doing it, man. Especially stand up. It's like you just have to be having fun. If you're not having fun on stage, it's not. You have to have fun first. All the other stuff comes. So just have fun.
Man. Well, dudes, I hope that was awesome for you, Matt. Anything else you want to put out there in the world, dude?
No, man. It's just I was happy we did this. This was something that had been kind of in the back of my brain, being like, there's something slightly untethered about, the meetups have been awesome. I'm like, this I think will really kind of tweak everybody, and it'll give people at least a framework if they want to start kind of doing this in a more kind of be like more immersed in how to like actually do this, because it's the thing that you shared with me that has given me, I would say arguably one of the best years of my life. So it's like, I wanted everyone else to have something of that as well.
Oh, dude, I completely agree. And ASB just dropped the bomb. He said, Wes, let's have a long-term goal for Rhomas meetup somewhere like Aruba. Dude, retreat. Dude, he's so spot on. He is so easy to do that.
I know. I mean, I have a whole dream of this thing called Vacation Village, where there's like rent out a place and just have like a 2-week thing where it's like everyone tries to do like almost like 1 degree of set, like a word of mouth thing, where like it's at least not everyone's going to know each other, but everyone would have like a very loose affiliation with one another. So it was like a resort with like people who weren't strangers necessarily, at least fully not. I think that'd be so fun, man.
Oh, dude. I think we should make it a goal for 2021.
Harrison is afraid of ending up like Natalie Howell. Harrison, I will kill you. That's the goal. I'm going to kill Harrison on the island, dude. But yeah, dude, that would be, that's something I've been planning on doing. That'd be so fucking fun, man.
I'm thinking 2021, man. Rhomas retreat.
That would be sick. That would be awesome.
We'll do it. End of 2021. Let's put it on there. We'll set some intentions around it. There's no reason we can't do that. 100%.
No, not at all. It'd be fun.
Fucking right. Cool.
But what you got going on for the week? What's the week looking like?
Okay, cool. So now that I told everybody I need to make $500,000 for 2021, sales, like pushing through sales, like. And moving the needle. So like, I think the last few years in the company, I respectfully say this, I feel like I've acted more as a quarterback, if that makes sense. But now I need to turn that into a running back, like getting things over the finish line, that last 5 yards, and like just keep on focusing that, like that nucleus, like that I'm right at the end zone. I'm like, let's say a lot of cases, right? Like, dude, picking up this thing, the phone, is the most powerful way of moving the needle in business. It is unbelievable. There's no close second, right? Like in person is great. However, it just takes so much time, right? So in person always builds better rapport and so on. But the phone, I can make 40 phone calls by the time I can do a lunch with somebody, right? So 40 phone calls is way better on a net basis in terms of getting things done than just like one lunch. Obviously there's rare exceptions to that rule, but this is for sure the rule. So like really pounding this thing to death every single day. What I'm going to commit to is 2 hours a day time block towards specifically moving cases through the pipeline, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Then the next thing is doing a bunch of stuff for Rhomas, getting some more videos up. I want to get the videos up on Patreon, getting the weight loss stuff up on, like I've said in the past, and I haven't done, getting the weight loss stuff up for the guys on the Rhomas YouTube channel. And then I want to do those Adobe courses, like do more of them, get some official videos up. And then the scorecard, I am shooting for an A this week, and meditating, not the minimum amount, but 20 minutes, 2 times a day, every single day, no exceptions, even on Sundays. I am on day 3 of that right now. So
nice. That's pretty good. Yeah, I've actually, yesterday you inspired me to stop doing the bare minimum meditating. So that's now, my meditating is 20 minutes. I'm gonna do two 20-minute sessions as well, because the one in the morning was awesome, and if I put one on at nighttime, that would be pretty cool. So I have right now, my goals are, I have to finish a a little Adobe project. I have we did an episode of the podcast I wanted to do for a while. Me, Butterly, and Sid the Kid. We did an episode of Stoner Dads that we had the place was like all blacklit. It was so fun. It was really fun. So we're gonna go through. We have a couple little projects. We're gonna turn it into something that like it's a podcast, but we're gonna have it just be like a visual thing. So we're gonna do a lot of kind of After Effects and like cut and chop and do it. Like I'm working on an intro to it right now. So we're gonna put like heavy post-production effort. It's a secret. I don't want it to spill out, but we're gonna do like a crazy level of post-production edits and then put that out as kind of like some weird kind of twist on a podcast. So that's like I'm all Adobe'd out. Like, so it's gonna take at least a couple of weeks. So I'm working on an intro right now. So right now, goal is to finish the intro this week. That's a big thing. Finish the video intro with like the sound and music and everything. I have my writing goals as well. Just, getting up early every morning, doing an hour of writing a day. What else did I have? There's a writing, there was the Adobe, and then doing Psychnol research. I've been boiling stuff down. So it's just kind of research. Adobe's a new element, and then the writing. And then there are the three things I do. And then obviously, 4 workouts this week. So.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to update one of my goals. I told you guys next week as well, we'll be doing like the Rhomas practice sessions. I will start that tomorrow.
Cool.
So Matt, I might circle back with you. If anybody wants to show up, how would I do that? Like, would I do a crowd cast? Like if for the people?
I'll show you. I'll give you just login. I'll show you I'll do a Zoom with you, and I'll just take you through step by step how to do one and put it out. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Then once you do it, you have the link, and you just pump the link right out into the Discord.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure it's going to be bumpy for a little while. But if anybody wants to join me on that and they're on the Patreon, then you guys can do that with me. So invite will be open. Austin, so I'm going to be starting that tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific time. I will do it live if you guys want to join me, but just as a heads up, like going to be doing it and it's starting on the dot. And the goal is to get through many of the things on the scorecard so you can check them off along with me as I go through it. Because again, it is not a philosophy session. It is a practicing session, like getting the shit done. I'm going to figure out with Matt how to logistically get that done. I'll send you guys either out an email or put it in the Discord, etc. And yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll be starting that tomorrow. So I will do it live and then also record it. So if you can't join me at that time, you will then have it every day to do it yourself. And it's supposed to be boring. Like, expect that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's supposed to be, you watch me do it or we watch each other do it and you just do it, right? Like and then at the end of a month, you'll see that your scorecard is way more fucking impressive than it ever has been, because we're doing it as a team. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, you also might initially be able to do it within the Discord. There's a video chat element that I think can hold up to 25 people. So if it gets more than that, then you could probably move it to Crowdcast, but you can do that also right in the Discord, I think. Oh, and also too, I saw a question. Someone was asking, I'm doing an ACT group. That was another thing I'm checking off. I'm going to do like a 5-person kind of like peer level ACT group, like a little module for acceptance and commitment therapy. This week, I saw a question if it's going to be this week. It's not going to be this week. Brittany, that's one of my main goals this week. She's getting her wisdom teeth out. So I'm going to be Mr. Nanny, dude, all week. So this week, I just know it's not, there's no way. So I'm going to start that up the week after this. So I'll have all those good boy points, and I can, leverage that against her in a way that's very vicious and say, hey, you have to let me do this stuff. But no, so yeah, I'm Mr. Nanny all week. So that's one of my top priorities.
Hell yeah, man. Well, good luck, buddy. Let me know if you need anything, and
definitely
I'll reach out to you later today to make sure I've got the logistics down of this practice session.
Definitely, man.
Cool. All right, dudes. Right. Guys, go crush it.
Later, bro.